Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about a certain game that's currently on Kickstarter called Day of Dragons. So, essentially what Days of Dragons is the Isle, but with dragons. It's not really like it's not saying it's that, but it's basically that, a survival sandbox game with dragons, that's been done with like a lot of dinosaurs before, and there's a couple of animal like games like that roaming around, but there hasn't been one with dragons. So, yeah, guys, there is anger inbound. If any of you guys are, like, hoping for some yelling or whatever, I'm not about that. I'm an outwardly chill guy, at least. I'm not happy on the inside, obviously, but I'm not the type of person to really raise my voice that much. So, it's mostly going to be chill. Don't gotta worry about any nonsense. And I got genuine reasons for why I'm against this game. It's nothing out of pure spite. No, I got no reason to. It's just along the lines of, I backed Beast of Bermuda and Path of Titans, and there are people out there that are against both of those games and probably think I'm a bit insane for backing them as well. So I'm guessing to the people who thought that way, they done fucked up, and even I have to stand up and be like, okay, this is wrong. But yeah, what is Day of Dragons essentially? I might as well talk about my own experience with this game so far before I go into what I'm like really annoyed at about it. So, I first heard about it from some people like the first day it came out on Kickstarter, and I checked it out. It looked okay. There wasn't really anything that stuck out to me, so I basically just left it by the wayside at that point. But then I started hearing more about it. It started spreading around the various communities I am in, but then I started hearing more stuff about it recently. One of the members of the dev team came and contacted me and said that maybe I should check it out, and I'm like, oh cool, I'll check this out, maybe check up on it now that it's been like a little bit since I last did. And the community is absolutely massive, as you can see here. There's like this game exploded on Kickstarter. They've only asked for 12k, and they got over 250, and it's continuing to grow as I speak. I did like multiple false takes on my intro countless times because I was so distracted by this goddamn thing coming up every like 20 seconds. It's gone up like a K since I started recording. That is absolutely insane. But yeah, it goes to show exactly how much support there is for this game. Essentially, what I'm pretty sure is what's happening is that there's a lot of like, there's like dinosaur communities. I'm pretty sure the dragon community is even bigger, considering dragons generally have wider appeal and they're fictional. There's not exactly any science behind a dragon. There can be, but for the most part, it's not something that needs science, and I think that makes it more accessible as a medium. But yeah, essentially all those communities became woke and started backing this thing, which again, I can't blame them. This is the first game of its kind, So yeah, this game's getting a lot of support. There's also a couple of YouTubers jumping on it, like I know Riot did, I know Insomnia did. And speaking of Insomnia, don't think that you're just gonna slip by me with that shit, Insomnia. How, you bashed on Beast of Bermuda because Daddy Dondi said so, because of the friggin' store-bought asset shenanigans, but you're here right now backing this game, despite it being even more proportionally store-bought assets right now than Path of Titans is. So, yeah, frickin' hypocrite. Anyway, shitty YouTubers aside, what exactly do I not like about this game? So, it all looked nice and dandy. I checked out the Discord and stuff. They seemed pretty chill for the most part. I looked into what the game is. That seemed cool. But then I looked down at the proper Kickstarter, take a look at it, because I was thinking maybe I could support this. Let's take a look and see what they got. And it's these stretch goals that I have a problem with. It is a complete nightmare in here. Why do you ask? Well, what is usually offered up as stretch goals? Usually things that develop the game further, like maybe a new game mode, or maybe a new creature for everybody, or, maybe a new system, maybe a new map. Something like that, As well as, if they pledge, they can get certain skins and stuff. That's cool. But what's the stretch goals on this? For the most part, it's entire classes of dragons. Completely cut off from the rest of the community. Essentially, everybody who takes part in this Kickstarter gets like 5 entire classes of dragon that nobody else can play. Which I think is complete bullshit. I thought that we were past this point in the gaming community, or at least the indie community. This really feels like something that like a AAA studio would pull off. Like, you know how they got like certain weapons, and they don't put like entire classes as like a pre-order kind of thing, which is reasonable. You'd understand the type of backlash that they get, and this game is somewhat putting that for some goddamn reason. I don't know why they went with this process, but since nobody else is talking about it and how freaking dumb it is, I might as well talk about it. So, yeah, and its entire class is a dragon, which are exclusive to the people that own this Kickstarter, which I think will do absolutely nothing but just cause like this hatred in the community, where, like with skin, there are people that make a big deal out of skins being inclusive to pre-order or events or things along those lines, or exclusive events where only like a handful of people have got them, and that's skins. How do you think people are going to react to entire classes of dragons with unique abilities, unique looks, being completely exclusive? It's a travesty, honestly. And once we get into the abilities, it makes me really question exactly whether or not this game is balanced, in a sense. Like, even if it is balanced, you're still cutting off unique abilities and traits that people should get their hands on. It is... I really shouldn't have to explain any further as to why this kind of system is dumb. It just is, to put it mildly. But yeah, let's go into the unique dragons themselves. Now there's about 3 or 4. I believe there's 4. I believe there's 4 completely exclusive dragons. And one of them sounds alright balance-wise, but the rest seem to have abilities that seem absolutely broken. Well, not really, it's less broken, and more the exclusivity of them is broken, as it were. So let's start off. First one we got right here is the Healer Dragon. The Healer Dragon, it's an exclusive Healer Dragon that can both increase health generation and stops bleeds on other players. Do you realize how broken this sounds from, like, a combat standpoint? What if, and I'll bring this up when we get to the other classes, what if there's a group of players that just so happen to have not done the Kickstarter or came after the game launched, like I'm pretty sure a fair portion of people will, versus a people that have purchased stuff from the Kickstarter? They got an inherent advantage because now they have Healer Dragons, while the people that jumped on later on or didn't do the Kickstarter don't. They're inherently being punished for not backing a Kickstarter, when in reality not backing a big Kickstarter should be a smart thing to do. People should do it out of the kindness of their hearts, not to... I'm not going to say bribery, because it's obviously not bribery, but it's underhanded, as it were, whether they intended it or not. So yeah, you got Healing Dragons, which is... it's an extreme advantage to be able to heal your team in any combat scenario. Next one we got, there's just a skin. That's cool. I'm fine with that. Next one we got a Nesting Dragon. This Nurse Dragon will be very good at combat, but will be excellent nesting and mimicking the elements of other dragons, albeit with much reduced damage. This ability to mimic other elements allows the Nurse Dragon to incubate the eggs of any dragon species they are grouped with. Keen thermal senses can detect the temperature of the embryo, allowing it to influence gender, and the inherited skin in the egg while incubating it. In addition, 2% of the max stat up. This will make our Kickstarter backers highly sought after by both role players seeking skins and PvPers seeking stats. This is really underhanded. It is ridiculous. Now, obviously the combat potential of the Nurse Dragon isn't very good, but it's the ability to hatch dragons and increase their... to hatch dragons to give... Well, the skin part isn't really all that bad. It's the stat part that is absolutely awful. Not to mention, with a Nurse Dragon capable, that means that a Nurse Dragon can essentially, given that this is another combat scenario again, a single Nurse Dragon or a couple of Nurse Dragons can just take over the parenting duties entirely, while literally the entire horde could go out into combat. Versus if they didn't have them, where there would be combat-able individuals that would be forced to take the burden of child rearing, which again puts an advantage over those that did not back the Kickstarter, indirectly punishing them for not backing a Kickstarter. Which is, again, something that should not be done. And what's even worse, I didn't even realize that it even gave you a straight-up stat advantage for doing this. Which I think is broken, regardless of how you swing it. What's next? This is the one I was talking about that doesn't really seem all that bad. A 4-winged hybrid dragon. I'm not going to say all that bad, because these are all terrible. But this is the least offensive of them all. 4-winged hybrid dragon. The hybrid dragon is a wyvern dragon hybrid. Blah, 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 blah. Being a hybrid, unable to nest, but has an alpha stage of growth as one of the larger species. Bile. Blah, 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 blah. Cannot be nested. So yeah, this just looks cool, but again, it's cutting off something that it should be accessible to everyone. I really don't have much to say, otherwise that this is bullshit. Stuff like this should be available to everybody. I can understand skins and stuff, but this is an entirely new class of dragon. It is absolutely ridiculous. Forgive me if you don't hear me as much. I'm going back and forth because I'm getting a bit heated. But aside from that, this is the top of the cherry on the cake here, which is at 100k we'll be adding a behemoth ice drake. The behemoth drake will be the only dragon in Day of Dragons that reaches the alpha stage on its own simply by growing normally over time. Now I don't know exactly what an alpha stage is, but it just seems like, given it implies what it literally says, it's the strongest stage of a dragon, it's the elder stage, you know. I'm assuming, obviously it says that we'll simply by growing over time, so I'm assuming that this is like an alpha state just sounds like a stronger state, as it were. I'll probably leave subtitles if I look up what that means, but yeah, like all drakes, beam drake cannot fly, relatively slow, but over time will go the strongest and physically strongest out of the alpha dragons in our world. So, straight up, they didn't directly say it, but they're like, here's the strongest playable dragon. The strongest playable dragon only available to your Kickstarter, folks. The rest of the people that either did not know the Kickstarter was going on, chose not to do the Kickstarter because they're playing it smart and really don't want to, or they came after launch, forget you guys. You guys aren't getting the strongest dragon in the game. Which, again, is ridiculous. I didn't want to say this at first because I feel like I could get blown over proportion, but this genuinely feels pay to win. Throw up the money, and you get a dragon that heals, dragon with the ability to heal, and a dragon with the ability to nurse and raise stats and stuff like that, both of which sound like really broken abilities, and then straight up the strongest dragon in the game. There's a drake needs life Foom War to survive. So form alliances. Yeah, inherently this sounds balanced, but it sounds all well and good until somebody has a skill member of these groups on their side, and there's nothing that the other team can really do about it. And yeah, that's it in a nutshell. That is why you won't see me supporting this game. I know that it's coming out on the 21st, and like, look at that. It went up by nearly $500 is the last time we were up here, you know? Like, people want this game, people support it, but and you know what? People can if they want. It's just, I'm definitely not going to. You're not going to see me playing this game, and if anybody asks if I would recommend it, absolutely not. Alright. Oh yeah, guys, and just a little bit of a throw-in at the end. I normally, obviously, wouldn't make a video like this. This is the first one I've ever made on such a thing. Because normally, if I ever have a problem with something, I would just address it to the devs directly, obviously. That seems like a much safer approach, and one that is less, like, you know, insulting. But at this point, it's already on the Kickstarter. People already paid money to get the rewards. Me trying to talk to them would do nothing. It's already set in stone. So I already feel obligated to do this, you know? So yeah, back to the video. Alright guys, that's the end of this. Whew. See you around.